Welcome to Lavender Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through a thriller from the year 2015 titled Z for Zakaria. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. At the beginning of the movie, we see Anne Burden, a young girl who was left all alone after her family left to look for survivors, accompanied by her dog Pharaoh. Most of the world's resources are lost to radiation, and Anne spends her life gathering food and stray animals to survive. While coming back from gathering food, Anne and Pharaoh see a man named John Loomis standing beside a wagon, taking off his clothes and screaming happily because he's able to get fresh air. Anne was surprised as she was convinced she was the only survivor on Earth. Pharaoh hears distant footsteps and a splash in the water. He follows the sound and Anne sees John bathing in contaminated water and immediately yells at him to get out of the water. John gets scared and points a rifle at her. She puts down her own gun and assures him that she doesn't want to attack him but tells him the water is contaminated. He listens to her and gets out of the water. Immediately, he gets sick and starts vomiting. John runs to the van and takes his medicine and injects himself. He even explains to Anne how he uses the medicine in case he passes out. Anne notices a photo of John and a beautiful young woman, assuming it's his wife. John is feeling ill for days and Anne nurses him. He keeps having nightmares, which triggers Anne to kneel beside his bed to pray for his recovery. Soon, the power of prayer kicks in and John starts feeling better. He even visits her at the farm, but Anne tells him to go back because he's not strong yet for the farm stress. John tells her he just wants to watch her work on the farm. Anne says she ran out of gas last year and that's why she can't process the farm tractor. John teaches her how to pump the gas manually in a paper. She follows his instructions and boom, it works. During dinner, John notices how devoted Anne is when she prays before eating. She asks John why he left where he was and he explains to her that he couldn't take it anymore. He needed fresh air and wanted to see the sun. Anne's family went out to look for other survivors and never returned. She says she misses her younger brother and longs for the day he returns. She shows John her brother's picture. John is quiet and Anne later hugs him tightly, a gesture she has not done in a while. And then she informs about the picture she saw of him and the woman, and John explains she's a woman from a long time ago but she's not his wife. The whole conversation has caused some tension between them. John comes up with a hydroelectric power suggestion stating that they could use the woods from the church and the contaminated water to create a wheel that can power the house. Anne wasn't happy with the suggestion because they had to pull down the church where her father preached, the last physical memory of her father. John shrugs off his suggestion as he doesn't want to make her upset. He goes to an abandoned mini-mart, and when Anne looks for him, she finds him drunk in the mini-mart. Anne tries helping him despite him mocking her that she takes all the sweet things but doesn't ever touch the beer. When they get back to the house, Anne helps him take off his clothes and he flares up asking her never to help him because he doesn't need her help. This scares Anne. John apologizes by making her breakfast the next morning, and at dinner, Anne surprises John with a bottle of wine. They end up tipsy, which led them to kissing and dancing together. John tells her it was the best evening ever before they both go to sleep. Anne tries to seduce John by standing before him half naked. Once John doesn't really react, she wants to know whether John didn't like what she saw. John explains he doesn't want things to change and be complicated between them. He suggests they take time to work things out, and Anne feels rejected, asking him if he wants her to go. But he wants her to stay, and they end up cuddling all night. Next morning, Anne tells John he can't have the church and should continue with his project. She's happy, and he's planning long-term solutions for them. Anne notices that the trap they set had been scattered. Pharaoh sees a bicycle. He barks and searches to find the person. Anne runs after Pharaoh, and it appears that Pharaoh has met a stranger whom he's friendly with already. The stranger assured her that he meant no harm. He introduces himself as Caleb, a tall, young, and blue-eyed man, and he and Anne for a glass of water, as that all he has been looking for. She takes him to her farmhouse, and as soon as John notices him, he points his rifle at the stranger. Anne manages to calm him down. They have a small chat and introduce themselves. Caleb tells them how he mines and how it was underground when the radiation happened. John wants to know about his plan, and Caleb begs to stay with him and then head south later. Caleb says he will camp out for a few days, but Anne can't withstand a stranger sleeping out while she enjoys the comfort of her room, so she invites him to her house. John notices Caleb and Annie had the same faith because they pray the same way. John tells them the story about a 14-year-old boy he met who was so weak and terribly sick. John says the little boy kept stealing his food and throwing up, and then one day he picked up a knife to attack him, and John in return picked his gun to shoot him. After the little boy saw the gun, he gave up and started crying, begging John. John said he couldn't do anything to save the child, so he left him by the road to die. Anne is devastated knowing John might probably be talking about her younger brother. Caleb also reveals his experience at the mine. He says there were 4 other men and suddenly one wanted to go out. Caleb says the others wouldn't let him out because once he got out the radiation would come in. The guys fought each other to shred with their bare hands. Caleb says it was only Micah who survived out of all 4. Micah was covered in blood and sure to face and kill him, but then he suddenly backed up and fell dead to the ground. Anne says she's sorry that Caleb went through all that, which surprises John. After Anne is done showing Caleb around, John wants to know what she was doing and doesn't think Caleb is a bad man. John doesn't want to talk about it while Anne wishes he would. He admits that he killed the little boy and he thinks the little boy is Anne's brother and he apologizes to her. Caleb and John are out the next morning to hunt animals. They both hunt and save first to shoot. As John asks what the wager will be, Caleb says Anne. John looks at him suspiciously and Caleb mentions he's just joking. During dinner, Caleb discusses the issue of the water wheel. He asks if it was Anne's dad's church, to which Anne responds it's God's church. My dad was only a servant who preached for God. During a walk, Caleb says his father loved liquor and women more than his God. When Anne asks him why he was okay with taking down the church, he answers, the church is holy because of what she brought to it. John notices them from afar and he has almost completed the wheel. John notices the way Caleb looks at Anne and he wants to let her know that he's cool with it and he's not going to get in her way with Caleb. Once they complete the wheel project, they celebrate it at dinner and finally decide to swim in the river. The trio runs and jumps into the water. Caleb suggests playing a game. He will throw a bottle in the water and whoever finds it will win. Caleb throws in the bottle. John goes first. As he's gone, Caleb and Anne are looking at each other intensely, but soon John comes back and says he couldn't find the bottle. Caleb tells Anne she's next. She leaves and comes back saying she didn't see the bottle. Caleb says he doesn't believe her and offers to swim with her to find the bottle. John walks out of the water with Anne and confesses his love for her, but she doesn't believe him. Anne later walks to Caleb's room, who opens the door for her. She enters the room and they'll soon end up having sex. Early the next morning, John wakes her and asks Anne if Caleb is awake, to which Anne responds that she doesn't know. Once Caleb comes down, he touches Anne's hair while greeting her. John looks at them suspiciously, while Anne leaves the table and asks them both to eat and not wait for her. Caleb asks John if he wants him to leave, and while John pretends to say no, Caleb laughs and tells Johnny jealousy doesn't fit him. They make the water wheel finally work. Caleb climbs the cliff and almost falls off, but John saves him. Again, John returns alone and Anne apologizes for the night before and she wants to talk about it, but John tells her Caleb left already. Anne runs off to look for Caleb, but she can't find him, which makes her sad. Later, she notices that the light has been restored and she runs to the barn to play her organ keyboard, which usually sounds like hymns. John walks in and she continues playing her organ while John sits on the bench watching her. That's the end of today's movie recap. What do you think is the message of this movie? If you enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell if you're new to the channel to be notified when we upload more content.